佛光山纽约道场在日前邀请来了来自台湾的南华大学校长林聪明，他以环境永续还有心灵环保为主题来进行演讲。精彩的演说为在场的大众们上了宝贵的一课。
南华大学校长林聪明为数百位民众讲述了气候变迁、全球暖化对人类环境造成的破坏。全球暖化的罪魁祸首之一是人类对肉食的欲望。由于人类对肉食需求的增加，因此畜牧业大肆发展，进而引起过度砍伐山林、土地沙漠化；过度放牧则造成水质污染。畜牧业更增加了甲烷的排放，加速全球暖化。全球暖化将造成海平面上升、动物的灭绝、海洋温度的上升，引发珊瑚死亡、气候异常，以及容易造成各种病毒的传播和感染。林聪明校长提议，少吃肉，多吃蔬菜，逐步素食，节约能源，从而改善全球暖化。人间卫视纽约综合报道。
Hello, everyone. Today I will talk about the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal. We can say it's SDGs lesson plan. In today, I will separate into 4 parts to discussion the SDGs. The first part, I will talk about a factor of greenhouse to climate change. The second part, I will talk about the goal including 70 goals. And the third, we'll go to the field to play a game. This game is developed by the United Nations. We say it's United Nations Sustainable Development Board game. Then finally, I hope we can have some discussion. The discussion is about a group discussion and feedback. So we have 4 parts. Okay. The first thing I will talk about what's the meaning of greenhouse. What's the meaning of greenhouse? You know, every day morning you wake up. When you wake up, you will see the sunshine from the sun and go to our ground. But what happened when sunshine on our ground? The first thing you will see in the PPT, you can see some of sunshine will just reflect to the air. Some of sunshine will just direction and touch the ground. Okay, when touch the ground, you know, in fact, in our ground, we have reflect a long wave come back to the air. When come to the air, in the air, if we including some like the CO2, like the N2, will just cover on our soil. Sometimes the sunshine cannot to broken the air. When it broken the air, it will reflect to the soil. Then will increase the temperature. You can see this figure. This figure, in fact, is not my idea, but in fact, it's developed by the goal. Okay, you can see the global temperature, the blue line, and the straight line is the CO2 concentration. You can see from the 1818, the temperature is small rise. Also, the CO2 is small and rise. But you can see from the 1960, the temperature is increased very fast. In the same time, the CO2 also increased. The CO2 concentration also increased. So in this figure, we can guess maybe the temperature increase is because of the increase of the CO2 concentration. So from this, maybe we must understand, because our person just we burn the oil, we drive the car, and we build a house. In fact, we waste many CO2. So the carbon dioxide concentration will increase the temperature of the Earth, okay? So if you see the climate change trend, you can see in the left side, in IPCC his report. He say in the past 100 years, the Earth warming increased 0.74 degree in the past 100 years. But the past 15 years, average, every year increase 0.13 degree. And also, in fact, the greenhouse gas emission continue to increase. So we guess you can see back to this figure. You can see, in fact, the CO2 increase, the temperature increase. This is increase always. And also, you can see the sea level rise 1.8 millimeter per year. Okay, so if you see in the right-hand side, you can see the figure. In the figure, in fact, you can see the temperature increase in Taiwan increase very fast. In fact, in Taiwan, the warming increase in the past 100 years, the increased temperature is 0.8, higher than the Earth warming. Okay, and this figure, this Taiwan, this figure, you can see is the temperature in Taiwan and also the water level in Taiwan. You can see the water level in Taiwan. In Taiwan, you can see in the city area, temperature rising for 1.4 degree. But in the mountain, maybe just higher than 0.6 degree. In the west, higher than 0.9 degree. But in the earth, in the east, 1.3 degree. But the rain, you can see the rain. In the number of the raining day in the fall season has decreased, very clear. And the sea level rise per year, rise 2.5 millimeter per year. And the rate of the elevation, I think maybe in the southwest, because of the some of sea level is higher, and also some groundwater, they pump the groundwater. In fact, in the west, they just the water level, the ground level is down every year. The down elevation is 7.9 millimeter per year. Okay, and the future temperature, we can have some prediction. In fact, is increased. Especially in Taiwan. You can see in Taiwan, in the right-hand side in this figure, you can see at the end of the 21st century, I think Taiwan's average is increased 2.3 degree. And sometimes the phenomena of the future warming is seen, and also the highest temperature in summer higher than 32 degree day is increased, but in the lowest temperature in winter, lower than 10 degree days is lower. But if you see the seawater level in the left-hand side, if the water level rises 6 meters, you can see the Taipei city, the Kaohsiung city, and the Zhanghua, and also in the Jiayi. In fact, some of city and the area is covered by the water. In addition, if you see the water level rise 25 meters, in fact, Taipei and Taichung and Kaohsiung is covered by water. So it's a very serious problem. Okay, so we can have some conclusion. about the extreme climate. Okay, so in fact, we can say the total annual rainfall remain unchanged, but the number of the rainfall is decreased. The number of rainfall days is decreased. So what happened? First thing is the temperature rise. The second thing, sometimes it's flooding, sometimes it's no raining. So very serious problem. So if you what happened in the Earth, you can see the hydrological circle. You can see the first thing, because the evaporation and evapotranspiration, so the water will evaporate to the air. To the air, then we can have cloud. The cloud will move to the mountain. In the mountain, because some condition, they will have raining, then raining to the ground. So if the circle has some problem, extreme climate will change. Okay, so if you see this figure, in fact, this figure is you can see this figure is the total annual rainfall change in Taiwan. You can see the annual rainfall, in fact, in the past 100 years, in the past 100 years, almost the same. Sometimes it's higher, sometimes lower, but in fact, it's fixed. You see this figure. You see the total annual rainfall day. You can see in 1990, in fact, the higher than average may be higher than 25 to 30 days. So it means the rainfall day is very much. But in fact, you can see in 20110. In 20110, you can see the annual rain day it decreased. The decrease almost maybe 10 days, decrease 10 days. So totally, if you compare in 1910 and 2010, you can compare almost the decrease, maybe decrease, 30 to 10, maybe decrease 40 days. Okay. So this is the day decrease. Another one is about the storm. Okay. The storm we can say is extreme event. Okay. The extreme event in the past 10 years, in fact, become more frequent. The major disaster in Taiwan, we can say it's an extreme event. If you see from the 1919 to 2000, every 10 years we have 3 very big storms. But if you see the day from the 2000 to 2010, in fact, we have 11. We have 11 extreme events. We have 11 extreme storms. Okay, so it's many extreme storms. It means many disasters in Taiwan. Okay, so I think it's a very big problem. Okay, what happens when extreme storm? You can see this figure. In the upstream, the landslide and mud flow. This is a big problem. In the downstream, okay, you see this one, upstream. The upstream, you see the upstream have some landslide, debris flow. But in the downstream, you can see the flooding. Okay, so the downstream city, I think, covered by flooding for earth and rock. You can see is a stone. Okay. This example in Taiwan. Sometimes we have a heavy rain across Taiwan on May 2014. You can see New Taipei City and Jiayi City and Kaohsiung and Jiayi Railway and the Yunlin melon farm disaster. You can see many disasters in Taiwan, and some people die, and the traffic staff, and also the house, the road is floating by the water. Okay, so we can say the degree of abnormal weather exceeds the law of the environment. The problem is the disaster will follow one after another. This is the truth. This is the problem, and this is the factor. Okay, how to do in Taiwan? So in fact, in Taiwan, we have two directions to solve the problem. One is slow down, one is adaptation. What is slow down? In Taiwan, we want to reducing the extent of climate change. How to reducing? The first thing, we're reducing the emission of greenhouse gas. So in Taiwan, we're using the solar panel. We're using the wind power and the water power. And we don't use the other power. We want to increase the usage of the solar power. Okay, so because we increase the using of the solar power, so maybe we can slow down the increase of the greenhouse. But of course, in the same time, we want to reducing the impact of the climate change. So what do? We just adaptation. How to adaptation? We can develop the warning system. And also we have some how to manage the soil, how to manage the land. Some place if have some landslide place, have some earthquake place. Sometimes we just move the person from the mountain to the safe place. We can reduce the impact of the landslide, of the disaster. Okay, of course, in the same time, when United Nations they do something, they do some sustainable development goal. In Taiwan, we also have some. We have also do something. These two things come from the Ministry of Education, and come from the other from the government. Okay, we have do something, but it's Chinese, so I just bypass. Okay, bypass. Okay, so the second point is we know the greenhouse, we know the climate change. So what we can do? The first thing is we want to from 3 viewpoints to do something. One is from the economy, one is from the society, one is from the environment. Okay, so if we want just separate the goal of sustainable development goal into 3 parts, we can show the figure like this. Okay, but in Taiwan, in fact, we can separate into 3 parts. One is economy, one is society, one is environment. Okay, because it's Chinese, so I just show something, and in the future I will translate to English. Okay, but you can see this one. This is a sustainable development goal and correspond to the education. You can see we have 17 goals. One is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, 6 until the 17. Later we can understand what the meaning. How to understand? It's very easy. We can using this game. This game, in fact, is developed by the United Nations. we can say is the United Nations Sustainable Development Board Game. Okay, so this the step by step. You can see this step. That step. Okay, you see. We have 70 steps, and this is the question. And when you just play the game, when you just stop at 1, you can ask 1 question. Stop at 2, another question. So totally we have 70 questions. Okay. Okay, and this is the Sustainable Development Goal. This game. Later, I will show how to play the game. Okay, so this the part of the game, and later after finish the game, we come back here, and we have some discussion about how to discussion. The first question I say first. The first question is, please, you explain how to mitigate climate change view. Okay, how to mitigate the climate change view. So I hope after you read my file, read my PowerPoint file, you can explain this first question. Then the second question is, please suggest how to implement the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal and industry development. Okay, from three viewpoints. One is economic aspect. Economic aspect, you can see from the green consumption, clean production, and green industry. The second is the social orientation. The social orientation, we about the fairness and justice, public participation, community development, and population health. About the environment aspect, we talk about the environment planning, nature conservation, pollution prevention. About 3, and how can we implement the sustainable development goal of the United Nations through the environment education. Okay, we chose 4 goals. First goal is end hunger. And the goal 6 is clean water and sanitation. And goal 3 is climate action. And goal 15 is ecological education. So later, after we finish the game, and we will have somebody to explain these 3 questions. Okay, so I just stop here, and later we go to play the game. Thank you. Okay, so okay. Four. Okay, just walk 4. 1, 2. No. It's 1. This 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, stop here. Then Amin come here. Yes. Amin, you come here to play. Okay, you try. Oh. 4. Oh, you're same. 1, 2, 3, 4. Together. Then you turn. Okay, 3 persons I think is enough. We try. Okay, so lucky. Okay, everyone is 3. Then you turn. 6? Yes. Oh, 6 good. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, start there. Then Amit. 5. Okay. Then you. Question 2. I ask you one question. Oh, you cannot see. You can see. Okay. Is enough food produced in the world to feed everyone? No. No, I have 3 questions. First question, no, because I get hungry all the time. The second question, enough health food is produced, but not enough sweet and fuzzy drink. 3, there is enough food, but not everyone can afford to buy food.
Okay, 3.
Yes, correct. Then, because you are correct, you can play again.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay. 3.
3. 1, 2, 3.
Okay. Then, oh, sorry. Then, your turn. Thank you. 3.
1, 2, 3.
Yes. Oh. You never have question 5. Never stop. Oh. 3. Okay.
It's my travel that
It's okay. It's okay.
we can go there.
No. No. Go is here. If you stay here, you can take the elevator.
Maybe this one come back.
Yes, come back. Right. Yes, come back.
Oh, come back.
It's a flush. 3. Okay.
Yes.
4. Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Oh.
Yeah.
Question 5. I see you. Oh, I forget one thing. Oh yeah, you if you answer right, you can play again. Is it okay?
Yes.
Oh, it's okay. About the gender equality. Only one country in the world has more women than men in 1970. Which country is this? The first country is the United Kingdom. The second country is Norway. The third country is France. The fourth country is Rwanda. And the eighth country is Peru. Which country? Oh, it's really good. This question is too difficult.
I guess Rwanda.
Oh, right. You right. Play again. Oh, very good. How you know? Oh, what?
Oh no.
Oh, goodbye. Come back.
My turn.
Okay, your turn. Oh, 4. You. Top 6? No, just 1. Okay, please play again. 3.
1, 2, 3.
Okay, Ami, your turn. 3. Oh,
you
oh,
passed.
you're lucky.
Question.
Question 6.
What does it?
Clean water and Santana. How can you use this water? First answer. There is no shortage of water where I live. I can use as much as I like. B is by taking a shower rather than a bath. The third, the C, by drinking sweetened fizzy drink instead of water.
What was the second option? Yeah.
Second, again, by taking a shower rather than a bath.
Listen.
The question is, how can I use this water?
How can you do?
How can I use this water?
Yes, one.
So your answer is 2.
Yes.
False. It's okay. Yeah, another question.
Question.
Yeah. You're lucky.
So you ask question first.
Oh, yes. It's question 7. Oh, sorry. Stop the wrong answer. Clean energy can be produced with A. Coal, B. Sun, C. Wind, D. Wave. Clean energy can be produced with 1. A is coal.
Go first.
Yes, right. Oh, 5. Goodbye. Oh. You are left. Okay, 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh, okay, step. Your turn. Five.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, goodbye. Okay, I see. Maybe never.
Look again. Two. Typical. Two the end. Two.
Okay, play again. 2. Six.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh, you're lucky. Then. Okay. Ouch. 2.
1, 2.
Oh, I have some question. Question 4. Most of the children who do not go to the school live on which continent? A. Europe. B. Asia. C. America. D. Africa. Yes, right. Five.
3.
Oh, good. Lucky. Question 6. Only the country in the world has more women than men.
This one is
This,
already broken.
I already answered this question.
Oh, yes.
So you can change the paper. There is another.
Yes.
Another 6 number is there.
Ah, yes.
Another page.
Another page. Okay. Potable water is A. Water that is safe to drink. B. Water that we can find in flower pot. C. Water that look clean. Potable water is water that is safe to drink.
Maybe A.
Yes.
Huh?
Potable water is needs of 就是那个一般我们的那个什么随身的水那个用水。Four.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, you're lucky.
No.
What's question 7? Oh. Another 7 there. Have somebody answer this. What does energy efficiency means? A. When a lamp gives a bright light. B. When you can use energy without having to worry about your consumption. C. A device for building that uses relatively little energy to provide it with the power it needs. Yes, right, good.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, don't 5. Here. Wait.
3.
1, 2, 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
Safe, safe.
Okay, Ami. Oh, 5. Oh, you can take the elevator. Oh, question 7. Oh, he lucky. 7. Global warming happened mainly because of an increase of a certain gas in the atmosphere. Which gas is this? One is the ozone. B is the carbon dioxide. C is the mustard gas. Of course, easy.
Carbon dioxide. Ozone, carbon dioxide, or mustard gas? Carbon dioxide.
Yes, yes. Okay, 2. 2 is okay. Only one.
Oh, 1. Safe.
Okay. Oh, 4. Oh, good save.
Yeah, 4.
Okay. Oh. 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, safe.
Safe. Oh. 2. Oh, safe. 3. Oh, safe. 5.
Fine.
Question.
Oh, 10. Question 10.
If I give wrong answer, you cannot play.
What is the best way to fight poverty? A. Do nothing and ignore the problem. The B. Share the wealth produced in the world. C. Prevent foreign from entering your country.
B.
Yes. Right. One. It's okay. It's okay.
Don't worry.
It's safe. Oh, 3.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, safe. 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, question.
11.
11 question. The good question is, how many people in developing country live in slum?
Slums.
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 Slums. Oh.
Those people who don't have house live in the road.
Okay, 30%. A, 30%. Then B is 50%. C is 80%. Oh, right. You're correct.
Oh, you know everything.
Why you know? It's guess.
I just guess.
Then you always right.
What? Yes.
Safe. Three. Oh, it's okay. Okay.
No. Six.
6.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh, question.
Question 12.
Yeah, yes, good. Statement. There are plenty of fish in the sea. A. True. I can eat as many as I want. B. False. Overfishing, pollution, and climate change are reducing the population of fish in the ocean. There are plenty of the fish in the sea. Is true or false? True. There are plenty of fish in the sea. True. I can eat as many as I want.
No.
B. Yes, because have the climate change and water pollution. Oh, 2 is good.
Yeah, it's 2.
Oh, 3. Another question.
1, 2,
Another
3.
question. 13. Yes. 5. No. In 2015, where did world leader agree to a plan for our climate? A. Paris Agreement. B. London Big Bang Agreement. C. New York the Manhattan Agreement. Manhattan.
No, 5.
Yes. Oh. Right.
Slowly speaking.
2.
4, 5.
5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
It's okay.
Wow.
5. Where is 5? 3. 1, 2, 3. Hey, question, Max. Okay, stand. Oh, no. How much food is waste every day worldwide? A. None. As all the food is eaten for freedom. B. 1/3 of all food produced. C. Very few, very little. As people have reduced the waste. How much food is waste every day worldwide? How much food is waste every day worldwide? The answer is A. No one wasted the food. B. 1/3 of all food produced. I mean 33% food are waste. C. It's very little, very few. Yes. 2. Yeah, 2. Oh, you're lucky. I will not be lucky. 5. 1.
Yeah, come here.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Who will go first?
3,
6.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Oh.
6.
Oh. 16. Very good. Answer question. Which of the following is a democracy? A country ruled by a dictator. B. A country ruled by the people. C. A country ruled only by men.
B.
Yes.
No fault.
1, 4.
哦 it's good same oh stop no okay 3 say it's set okay let's complete okay
Yeah, it's me.
yes
1, 2,
3, 4.
oh okay oh only one stop
yeah.
good if you will come only one then you will come three 1, 2, 3 oh
I mean, 2 up, not like this. This.
5
5.
5
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh,
oh you only one one yes
1. Winner.
I have 1.
6
Oh,
then you must come 1 2 3 4 Oh, set. 3
Shen.
1, 2, 3, here.
oh yeah
Question 17.
70 yes final question who should be involved in partnership to achieve the 70 SDGs? A. Citizen. B. Government. C. Company. D. All of the above.
All of them.
Yes. Again. Oh, two.
Only two. No.
One. Three. Oh. Maybe you are lucky.
I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 4.
6. Yeah.
Oh,
3.
3.
1, 2,
Oh, it's still sad. 2.
5.
Oh no.
Oh, 2.
Three. Who will be the first one?
4.
No.
1.
The same way.
No.
Oh yeah, sorry.
4.
Not easy.
Yes.
Okay. Maybe you are lucky. 3. Oh. One is impossible.
Oh.
No.
Okay. 3.
We will be a winner.
No.
You cheated.
No cheating.
One.
Oh.
Okay. Again. Three.
Yeah.
Oh, but you want to change the 3? Maybe he never 3.
Yeah.
Oh.
Right? Go.
Just one more time.
One touch. 3.
Done.
Yeah. We got the word.
Got the ball.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Today's course is closed. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Amit, we also have some discussion, right? So later we.
Sustainable development. So first question comes in mind, what is sustainable development? Sustainable development can be defined as meeting the need of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own need. Sustainable development is the effective use of resources for economic development while preserving the environment and ecosystem so that not only the needs of present are fulfilled but also for the future generations. Sustainable development also interlinks the development and carrying capacity of environment and ecosystem. So, what are the measures of sustainable development? First of all, we should use appropriate technologies. Appropriate means that technology doesn't harm our nature or our environment. Next is 3R approach: reduce, reuse, and recycle. Reduce, we have to reduce the excess uses of the natural resources, while reuse is we have to use them again and again and again, while recycling is converting waste material into again raw product. Then there is promoting environmental education or awareness. Then there is population stabilization. We should think of something, we should think of working on population stabilization so that our natural resources are quite suitable for that amount of population. Then conservation of non-renewable energy sources. That means we have to save non-renewable energy sources and we have to adopt some methods to use renewable energy sources. So, how to achieve this sustainable development? First answer for this is reduce the dependencies on heavy metals and fossil fuels such as coal, oil, and natural gases. In India, in 2012, India's energy consumption was about 75% dependent on fossil fuels. So we have to reduce this amount and we have to increase our dependencies on renewable energy sources. Second thing is that we can reduce our dependencies on synthetic chemicals. These synthetic chemicals are also formed from petroleum products because petroleum products contains a lot of simple hydrocarbons which can be converted into more or sophisticated synthetic chemicals. We can adopt some of the organic methods or natural methods such as some of the cosmetics which are available naturally as well as some of the medicines like Ayurveda and other things which are also natural medicines. And then also these type of chemicals, they are harmful for our environment, so we should reduce its uses. We have to reduce our destruction of nature, including cleaning of the forest as well as natural habitats for human needs. As you all know that as the human population is growing very rapidly, we need more land, more space for this population. But we should reduce our destruction of the nature. Sustainable development does not mean that we should only talk about the environmental protection. It is the compromise between the economic development and environmental protection. So it is actually the balance between environmental and economic sustainability. There are many uses of the waste materials and we can try to recycle them and reuse them as many products and resources are possible. There are many uses such as decorative, constructive as well as innovative ideas, so where we can recycle and reuse our waste products. Also, we should make more goods that last longer. Its lifespan is little higher, and also they are easy to recycle as well as repair. We have to increase our dependencies on renewable energy sources like solar energy, wind energy, hydro energy, bioenergy, and geothermal energy. Also, biodiversity is very important factor of our environment and our nature. So we should try to protect them with their vital habitats of the wild species. This is the graph of population growth, which shows there is very small increase before 1000 AD, but after that there is sudden increase, which is really a dangerous situation. So we have to think of something so that we can stabilize our population growth. So now, what are the problems for obtaining sustainable developments? The first problem is that there is always disagreement between two stakeholders or two parties or two countries. No, each stakeholder has different priorities, and hence it is extremely difficult for all to agree upon common goals of sustainable development. Uncertainty. There is always uncertainty regarding different global environmental issues and the manner in which they interact with global system. So this is also one factor. Then there is consumption and lifestyle. People don't want to change their lifestyle, and this is also again a problem in achieving sustainable development. And finally, the arguments over causes and responsibilities. People don't want to take responsibility of what is happening in the global scenario, so they keep on arguing with each other, and this is the one of the problem for achieving sustainable development.
Within the space of just a few decades, the term sustainability has made an extraordinary rise to fame, going from the fringes to the mainstream, as it has become one of the defining features of 21st century reality. Today, the term sustainability encompasses a whole paradigm shift to our understanding of the world and our place within it. This new paradigm of sustainability is set to have a fundamental and pervasive effect on how we manage and design systems in the 21st century, as it will affect all aspects of our economy. This short film explores the ongoing transformation in the structure of our economies as a new form of sustainable economy emerges. The environment represents the whole ecosystem that a society depends upon for various services, such as water, materials, food, and energy. When we refer to the environment, we are really talking about a combination of natural ecosystem and human economy, what is called a socio-ecological system. The nature of socio-ecological systems has changed fundamentally over the course of human history as we have developed new technologies, institutions, and tapped into new energy sources. The development of the practice of agriculture some 8,000 years ago represented the first fundamental change in this dynamic, as we created systematic processes for harnessing natural resources based around the technology of farming. At this point in history, humans were dispersed across the continents, and the Neolithic Revolution was ongoing. The Neolithic Revolution was a fundamental change in the socio-ecological systems of the time, where the shift from hunting and gathering to agriculture led to permanent settlements, the establishment of social classes, the eventual rise of urban living, and large civilizations. Before the modern era, people were very much aware of their environmental limitations. Interactions within socio-ecological systems were local in nature. The majority of traditional societies are the net result of a long process of coevolution between a group of people and their natural environment, which created strong limitations to what was physically and biologically possible and what was not. The majority of people were small-scale subsistence farmers. Most of the agricultural production was for home consumption. Agricultural techniques were adapted to local environmental conditions. The amount of land that each family could cultivate was limited by the large amount of human or animal labor that was necessary for agriculture. For thousands of years, agrarianism formed the foundations to many civilizations that rose and fell around the world. The rise of the modern era, some 500 years ago in Europe, created the context for a whole new dynamic in the relationship between humans and their natural environment. With a shift from a dominant pre-modern religious vision of the world to a modern scientific view came a whole new way of seeing the natural environment. This new scientific knowledge got directly applied to the engineering of our physical environment, giving rise to the explosive technological change that was the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution that started in the late 1700s represented a radical dislocation between society and the ecosystem. Agriculture changed in Europe when the Industrial Revolution made it possible to use machines instead of human and animal labor for work such as plowing fields and harvesting crops. Starting with mechanization, the chain of effects can be traced through as machines gave farmers the ability to cultivate larger areas of land. Farm sizes and worker productivity increased dramatically as mechanized agriculture is more efficient on a larger scale. The mass of society moved from working the land into the newly industrializing urban centers where large markets for goods and labor came the new organizational structure prevailing over their daily subsistence and a new way of life that was divorced from local ecosystems emerged. A major part of this changing dynamic was the harnessing of new energy sources that were greatly more powerful than anything humans had used to fuel their economies before. The large-scale combustion to the energy sources of coal, oil, and gas enabled the transition to new mass manufacturing processes as they shifted from manual to mechanical. These initial changes in technology, economy, society, and ecology set in motion a series of changes, such as increasing economies of scale, commodification and urbanization that through interconnected feedback loops continues to this day in many countries around the world. Although it is apparent that the Industrial Revolution ushered in an unprecedented global human impact on the planet, it has since been dwarfed by the extraordinary exponential growth of human economic activity that began in the mid-20th century. Many of the processes of change that began with the Industrial Revolution reached a takeoff point in the mid to late 20th century, as almost all indicators for economy and ecosystem started changing at an exponential rate, from population growth to loss of species to energy consumption. This great acceleration of economic activity has given birth to a new geological era that scientists call the Anthropocene, as human industrial activity has become the primary driver of changes within Earth systems. The Anthropocene represents a new form of socio-ecological system, one that is truly global in nature, with an unprecedented scale of alteration to Earth's core systems, such as overall biodiversity, climate, or ocean acidity. After 1950, changes in major Earth systems became directly linked to changes largely related to the global economic system. This is a new phenomenon, a truly profound transformation in our socio-ecological systems, one that we are far from understanding the consequences of. Within the course of just a few decades, we have transitioned from being a small world on a big planet to being a big world on a small planet, an extraordinary transformation. A switch from making limited ad hoc interventions into ecosystems to becoming the primary drivers of change within the biophysical processes of the entire planet. These changes and their potential consequences are being made most explicit to us through the changes in climate that we are currently witnessing. Through human industrial interventions, the feedback mechanisms that stabilize and regulate Earth's systems have been significantly degraded, both within local ecosystems and increasingly on the global level. The breaking of these stabilizing negative feedback loops increases destabilizing positive feedback that makes the system more unstable and thus generates more extreme events, what scientists call global weirding. We have benefited for over 10,000 years, since the beginning of the Holocene, from Earth regulating itself to create an environment conducive for human economic activity. The Anthropocene is a recognition that this stable geological era has ended, that because of human intervention in the biosphere, it can no longer stabilize itself within the same equilibrium that has benefited societies in the past, that the global economy is now the primary driver of change within ecosystems. The name sustainability is derived from the Latin word sustinere, meaning to hold, and sustain, meaning to maintain or endure. Sustainability then defines the ability of a system or process to endure over a period of time. How sustainable something is can be understood in terms of its overall efficiency, in terms of how effective the whole organization is at operating within its environment. When a system becomes inefficient at operating within its environment, it consumes more of the available resources and produces more entropy or waste, rendering it unsustainable. Sustainability is, though not a property of a thing. Things in isolation cannot be sustainable. Sustainability is more what we call an emergent feature of whole systems. It is not so much about the parts as how the parts work together to enable effective overall outcomes. For example, an electric car is not really sustainable if the power system it is running on imports coal from the other side of the planet to provide it with electricity. Or likewise, if we build an eco-home in the middle of suburbia where the inhabitants have to drive a long distance to do shopping or take their kids to the park, this again will not achieve sustainable outcomes because we are simply optimizing individual parts without optimizing the whole. It is precisely because sustainability is about a relationship between a whole system and its environment that it cannot be achieved through optimizing individual parts, but instead requires us to look at how whole systems work, how all the parts are interrelated to enable the emergence of an efficient overall system, and thus sustainable results. This is to a large extent why sustainability presents such an intractable challenge to our existing institutional framework. Traditionally, we take a very analytical approach to management. We break systems down into their parts, analyze the parts, and try to optimize them, thinking that if all the parts are working, then the whole will be working. In relatively simple systems, this kind of reductionist approach can work, but in something as complex as an entire economy or global supply chain, it comes to be more how the parts are interrelated into the whole that comes to matter. If we wanted to try and make a supply chain more efficient, we can only get so far by getting each business to optimize their activity in isolation before we need to look at the coordination across the whole supply network. Often when we focus solely on the parts, we simply shift problems to the whole organization, and because of that, we stay getting the same overall ineffective outcomes and unsustainable results. The industrial age management methods and institutional structures that we inherit today are designed to take an analytical approach, breaking problems down, solving the parts, and then putting them back together. Sustainability is, though, a complex and holistic challenge that is not amenable to this method. Although optimizing for the parts may be important in many circumstances, it is really designing and managing for the whole system that is ultimately required to achieve the end result of overall sustainability. Whether we are talking about sustainability with respect to the natural environment or with respect to social institutions, an unsustainable system is one where the value and integrity of the whole organization is being systematically depleted. All organizations require both effective parts and effective overall structures for integrating those parts into a functioning whole. When the integrity of the whole becomes reduced, then the system becomes unsustainable. When the social capital within a society, the trust within the social bonds of the community, becomes depleted, it is only a matter of time before an event occurs creating a crisis that would have easily been resolved given a normal level of trust within the community. And this is the essence of sustainability. It is not a thing, it is the value and integrity of the whole organization that is required to maintain it over time. Whether this is the value of the social bonds within a society or the species diversity that forms the food web within an ecosystem, A sustainable system is one that is integrated into a functioning whole organization. We traditionally focus on the parts in an organization because they are much easier to touch, quantify, and manage, while the value in the connections that interrelates them into an effective whole typically cannot be touched or broken down into individual discrete parts, and is often much more difficult to quantify, making it difficult to manage through our traditional methods. This value of the whole is nonlinear, meaning it is distributed out across the whole organization. It is not one species that maintains the diversity within an ecosystem, it is all of them. It is not the closely knit bonds between people of a similar background that maintains a resilient multicultural society. It is more the distributed weak ties between people of different backgrounds that ensures the overall integrity of the community, its resilience and sustainability. It is this integrity of the whole ecosystem or society that represents the infrastructure or fixed capital that supports and enables it to operate effectively and provide people with the derivatives they value. And in managing such capital, one cannot look at and measure one single connection or one single creature. One has to look at all of them. This is the nature of nonlinear phenomena. It is because these resources within an ecosystem, economy, society, or culture that ensure the functioning of the whole and its sustainability are distributed that traditional centralized management methods are ineffective. Whenever we manage for the parts without managing for the whole, we eventually deplete the integrity that supports the whole and end up with unsustainable outcomes. At the beginning of the modern era, we inherited a natural environment and a set of social and cultural institutions that evolved over millennia without our full understanding or appreciation of them. With the accelerated growth during the 20th century, we came to affect the structure and makeup of these whole systems that were providing the natural and social capital supporting our modern economy, so much so that today they are no longer self-managing. The requirement today is in understanding these macro structures, how they work, their value, and developing organizational structures that can appropriately manage them. Sustainable development is a form of development where we manage both on the level of the individual technologies and organizations, but also on the level of the system as a whole. This is why achieving a sustainable form of global economy will take us into a new world of complexity, because we have to look at, account for, and manage whole interconnected socio-ecological systems in order to achieve overall sustainable outcomes. What gets measured gets managed, and managing for the whole means accounting for the whole, what is called full cost accounting. Our traditional approach to macro-scale environmental management has been exercised through a top-down centralized model, driven by government institutions and based on a paradigm of environmental conservation. But this is no longer relevant in an age when industrial activity has become an embedded part and central driver of change within virtually all ecosystems around the planet. Ecosystems management can no longer be an ad hoc solution patched into the side of the economy. This new context requires that it become a central part of what the economy is and does, and this requires accounting for and incorporating both social and natural capital in market structures. Economies function as distributed management systems. Through the negative feedback loops of the market, they manage whatever it is that people value, can quantify, and exchange. Until very recently, we have only really valued the derivatives of ecosystems, the water, food, minerals, etc., in terms of their utility to which we could ascribe a financial value. Through industrialization, industrial and financial capital has grown, and ecosystems have become degraded. Today, the limits and scarcity are not in lack of human-engineered systems, but in natural capital. In the industrial age, we had a scarcity of people and capital, but an abundance of natural capital. Today we have an abundance of people and goods, but scarcity of natural capital. So it is now not industry and people that need to be economized, but natural capital that we need to be using more efficiently and creating an economy to do that. Completing the process of industrialization means people's value change subtly but importantly. At this stage in economic development, the scarcity is no longer in the derivatives of ecosystems, but instead the functional integrity of those ecosystems. This integrity of the ecosystem can't be fully measured in terms of monetary utility. Rather, it requires a different kind of capital called natural capital. Using economic and business models to manage ecosystems means firstly understanding those ecosystems and the value of their integrity, and then developing accounting and exchange mechanisms based around this. Ultimately, this means building a new dimension to the economy, a new value system for the quantifying, exchanging, and accounting for natural capital. This process of incorporating the inherent value of ecosystems into economic metrics has already begun and will likely intensify in the coming decades. Since economies are always about people and what they value, as the context changes, as those values change, and as the nature of the resource that needs to be economized changes, so does the economy adapt. But this adaptation won't simply fit into our current economic model. It will require that industrial age economic structures evolve into a more complex, multidimensional form. Managing for the whole means managing for the connections between things. A central part of the rise of environmental awareness over the past few decades has been a growing recognition of the linear model to our existing economy. Indeed, today this linear model is probably the most often identified and criticized structural feature to our existing industrial economy, driving unsustainable results. This linear economic model is captured in the popular description of the economy as a process of take, make, and dispose. But as the economy has grown and reached planetary limits, inputs are appearing more limited, and outputs have become increasingly detrimental to ecosystems. As limits are increasingly met, the emphasis is shifting from gross throughput of material and energy to the internal organization through which those resources are utilized. This new form of economy is called the circular economy, built on the idea of feedback loops that things don't just disappear. Materials and energy go on existing after we use them, and this can be a massive source of value. The circular approach is a concept that has risen to prominence and takes its central insights from living systems. It considers that our systems should work like organisms, processing nutrients that can be fed back into the cycle. From this perspective, a sustainable economy is one without dead ends, with solutions in a sustainable economy built on closing loops between different energy and material flows and converting them into cycles. This nonlinear life cycle view to products and processes necessitates a more complex, holistic view of the systems we design and manage. One that looks for the synergistic connections, works with feedback loops and whole systems instead of discrete, one-off products. Developing a truly circular economy requires diversity and the interconnecting of different systems. Systems and processes that are all the same consume the same resources and produce the same outputs, without the capacity to cycle them between the different elements. It is only by connecting different systems in the right way that we can harness their differences to create synergies between them. Diversity has to be built into the structure of the economy, with different processes and systems coexisting and thriving off of each other's differences. A sustainable economy is one that does not just manage for things, but for how those things are interconnected and interrelated to form synergies that enable the continuous cycling of resources. A sustainable economy is a dematerialized economy, where innovation is focused on delivering greater functionality with ever less material demand. One that can deliver more services with less stuff. One of the most environmentally destructive elements to the linear economic model has been its incentive structure that drives businesses to overproduce and people to overconsume in what has come to be called the consumer society. The industrial model was based on the mass production of tangible products that were pushed out to end users. Mass production meant that companies had to sell en masse, which gave rise to mass marketing and the creation of a consumer culture that went global with globalization. In this product-based transactional paradigm, there was a strong divide between the producer and consumer around the point of transactions due to the fact that both customer and producer had different incentives and motives that ran largely contrary to each other. Over the past couple of decades, with the rise of information technology, has come a new model to value delivery called the services economy. A services economy is one where the focus is on the service delivered, the actual outcomes of a process. It is based on the system's delivered functionality instead of the amount of resources consumed in the production of the product. By shifting the producer's revenue stream away from the production of products and focusing it on the delivery of functionality, servicization is a powerful approach for breaking the core dynamic driving the consumerist economic model. With servicization, ownership of the product stays with the producer, and its maintenance likewise remains their responsibility. In such a way, they are incentivized to produce less while delivering more functionality. The end result is an alignment of the interests of the end user with producer and sustainable outcomes for the overall system. Services are really about access. The idea that people want access to services instead of simply the ownership of products. This is why the services economy goes hand in hand with networked information technology. Information technology and online platforms enable us to easily and cheaply coordinate the exchange and temporary usage of resources, thus working to make access easier and cheaper than ownership. In this way, extra capacity can be created through more effective organization instead of actually producing more products. A sustainable economy would be one that is able to focus its innovation and resources not on producing more products, but on delivering greater functionality through the intelligent coordination of existing resources. A sustainable economy would be one where we manage for the whole life cycle, where systems are adaptable and resilient, capable of evolving in response to major changes in the environment. Our economies have co-evolved with the natural environment over centuries and millennia. Many of our industrial systems are adapted to normal operating environments, but these normal environmental conditions may not be present in the future. The natural environment is changing in very profound, unpredictable, and most likely irreversible ways. Within this context, there is a manifest need to shift from systems that are optimized for efficiency within stable and predictable environments to those that have a much greater level of adaptive capacity, resilience, and are capable of evolving to meet new requirements. Whether we are talking about technology infrastructure or social institutions, the centralized systems of organization we developed during the industrial age are inherently static. They are built once and then go through a linear life cycle with limited capacity to renew themselves. They were not designed to evolve. The challenge of achieving a sustainable form of development is shifting the emphasis from discrete one-off products to looking increasingly at how they can evolve through their full life cycle. This is a fundamental switch in paradigm from designing systems that are inherently degenerative over time to systems that are inherently regenerative. A central challenge that sustainability presents today is in developing organizations and technology infrastructure that have built-in mechanisms to enable the evolution of their overall structure. Sustainable organizations are organizations that can evolve over time. They do not just develop on the micro level of the parts changing, but they are also able to successfully navigate change on the macro level, allowing for the whole system to change. Responding to systemic change requires building evolutionary mechanisms into the fabric of organizations. Unlike our traditional centralized mechanisms for regulation that can respond effectively to relatively small-scale changes, evolution is the only way for a whole system to respond to a macro-level change. Evolution is a distributed process. No one is in control or can be in control. It is a process whereby many diverse possible solutions have to be tried before the best solutions can be identified. It is a process that involves both diversity but also interaction between the system and its environment in order to identify the best options. Much of our systems of organization are built on a linear model where we try to externalize any form of nonlinearity as it is inherently uncontrollable. In the process, diversity is dumbed down and pushed outside of the organization. The end result is a short-term efficient system, but one that no longer has the diversity and mechanisms for generating overall transformation, thus resulting in a linear life cycle and unsustainable solutions. Developing solutions that can endure over several life cycles means recognizing the need for this evolutionary process and the need for the diversity that fuels it. The challenges presented by the environmental crisis and sustainable development are of a kind that we have not seen before, and we do not currently have coherent solutions to. As a famous person once said, we can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them. Traditional thinking, institutions, and management methods that created the sustainability crisis will not solve it. As such, the development of truly sustainable global economy would involve a transformation in the deep structure of post-industrial economies to exhibit new functional capabilities. One thing is for sure, though, the development of our socio-ecological systems will continue to evolve rapidly in the coming decades. Building this new form of sustainable economy will be a massively disruptive transformation, and there will be many surprises and pitfalls along the way, with many widely divergent outcomes remaining possible.
Hello everyone. Now the sections is for group discussions and feedbacks. The first question is explain how to mitigate climate change. The mitigations is called the reversals. How we can reverse what we have done in the environments. We have done a lot of things which have harmed the environments. So now we have to know how we can change back the environment to the original. If there is something bad is happening in the environment, so how we can make it good. So there are a lot of process we can use to mitigate the environments, reduce the uses of fossil fuels and depending on the green energy sources. We can also plant more and more trees, and deforestations we can do, and we can also use the sustainable development goals to achieve this. There are a lot of such goals are there. There are already 17 goals. So if we focus on every goals very much, and then we can also achieve the mitigations of climate change. And for this we all have to come together. All the countries peoples, all the countries government should also follow the rules to make to make it the environments good and better for not only for us, for all the peoples and all our children also in futures. And we can also do we have to depends on the green energies. If any country is having some of the systems and technology to produce any green energies like solar energies, nuclear energies, then we should also communicate. We should also give these ideas to the country peoples who is not knowing the process to make that type of technology to make green energies. And so we also have to depends on everyone. So it should be like all the peoples coming together and helping each others. And we can also depends on the we have to eradicate some of the process using of diesels and oils in the cars. So we have to make some that type of technology which the cars and the motorbikes are running on the electricity, something like that. So these are the process we can use to mitigate the climate changes, what is happening, and we will definitely achieve this process, and we will definitely make our environment clean and better place to live. And the second question is please suggest how to implement the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and industrial developments. So we will see the three aspects in these questions. One is the economic aspects, second is social aspects, and third one is the environmental aspects. So in economic aspects, the first is the green consumptions. Green consumptions means that whatever we are consuming from the environments, we have to think how we can make, how we can consume that things in a proper way, so such that the environments don't get affected by that consumptions. If we are consuming any food, so we have to think that if that food is coming by the organic farming, and if that food is not affecting the environments, that then we can say that we are implementing the SDGs, United Nations SDGs, to achieve our goals. And it will also be the economic aspects, if we are consuming organic foods, organic farming products, then we will also help. To the farmers, and farmers will also motivate themselves to grow more and more organic foods and organic things. And second thing is we also consume some products. So we also have to think if we are consuming any products, then we also have to see that how that product is made. If that product is made by the any such things which is not if any industry is not following the rules of to harm the environments, if they are not thinking, then we should not buy such type of products, and we should motivate that type of persons or that type of companies who is focusing on the things which is making the environment good. Such examples in recent launch of Apple events, Apple said that he will be carbon free from 2030. So till 2030. So that type of steps is very good. He is thinking to make the environment a better place. So if we are motivating that type of companies to take such type of actions, then only we can say that yes, we are doing our best to achieve the sustainable development goals. And the second is the clean productions. Yes, the same thing is how the thing is produced by ourselves. It should be clean, and how clean means it should not affect the environments by any other by any chance. If any company is producing any food, any things, products, and they are releasing a lot of harmful effects, harmful solutions, and releasing it in the air or water, then it says that it is not a clean productions. Like we have to think about before releasing anything from the industry, like it should, and if anything is going to produce, then we have to think before that how we can reduce our harmful effects, harmful things going out of the production house. So this is the way of this is terms as the clean productions. And next is the green industry. Green industry here means like how the industry can be made green. As I said that industry persons or industry owners should also think like how they can make the environments and how they can make their industry more and more sustainable, and it should be like it should not gives any harmful effects on the environments. Like there are some industries from which chimneys there are a lot of air particles are, they are releasing many of the pollutant particles in the air. So they should also think like how they can reduce that type of particles going out in the air and not harming the air, because if such thing is happening, then the people who are living near to that industries area, they are affecting. So they have things like that, so that they can achieve the environment's goals, and this will definitely will help to in the economic to enhance the economics of the countries or peoples or any country. And the next thing is like social aspects. So in social aspects, there are a lot of sections is like fairness and justice. We should for any social places, there should be justice to all the human beings, animals, and whoever is living in our social environments. So they should have the fair. We should give justice to that type of peoples. Like if we should not only think about ourselves. If we are doing anything, then we should also think about the others, the aspects of that others persons, like what they are going to affect. Like if we are not thinking of our neighbors, then maybe we are happy, but they are not going to be happy. They will be affected by our actions. So we should be giving justice to all the human beings and animals who is living nearby us. And we should also think about the animals also, because they cannot express their feelings, but ultimately whatever we are doing, we are taking any actions, it is definitely affecting their ecosystems, and also they are also getting affected by our actions, because as we know that there are many endangered animals nowadays which are going to be vanished from this planet. So we have to think such type of actions so that they are not affected by our actions, the human beings' actions. So that is called the justice to the societies and fairness to the societies. The next thing is the public participations. Yes, so we should also participate in the public areas, like and make them aware of to the environments. What is happening in the environment. So we should be public, like not only whatever. If you know some things, then you should convey it to the other peoples also. Like it can be done by public participations. Like we can have some meetings in the societies and anywhere, and we can make some education camp where we can express and we can share our thoughts like what can be done, what can be like together, so what can we do to make our societies and environment clean. Like we can make some organize some camp cleaning the societies on some days, like particular days we can select like on Saturday and Sunday weekends weekend, and we will say that okay, on these days all the society persons will come and give some contributions to clean the place nearby them, nearby their house. So this can also be achieved by social aspects of public participations to make the environments to achieve the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And the next thing is community development. Okay, so community development is similar like we have to develop some types of community which can help to some community like community of young peoples, community of old peoples, so community of working peoples. So that type of community will we can distribute some type of special type of works to that type of community. Like if there is some community of young peoples, then we can give them some type of hard work which they can do easily. And if we make some community of like old peoples, then we can also give some special type of work to them, which will be easy for them to do it very easily. So that type of community development we should do, and it will motivate that type of community. Like if we have same type of persons in one community, then it will definitely helpful to share their emotions and something like that. So we should also think about to developing such type of community which can directly or indirectly help to the achieving in sustainable development goals by the United Nations. So, and the population health. Yes, the next is the population health. The population health means that we should check the populations like in some of the countries like India, Bangladesh, China, the population is increasing in very large scale. So we should also check the populations what is happening. Like if any country or any places is having more and more number of populations, then it will definitely harm. It will definitely harm to the environment. So we should think like if there is some population is increasing in large scale, so government should make some type of rules and regulations to check to reduce the number of increasing populations, because we know that there is everything in the environment for everyone, but if we increase it the number of populations, then ultimately someone is going to suffer. Like if someone is rich, then they can afford it. If the price of any items and any things is increased, but the one who is not that much of rich, then they cannot afford it. So we should also think like not only for us, like for everyone, so like for rich persons and for the poor persons also. So we should and then only we can achieve this together the goals of the sustainable developments. And the next thing is environmental aspects. Like in these aspects there are also different sections like environmental planning. So this says that we should plan for the environment, like planning for to give the environment a better place, like planning for the plantations, for reforestations. Like if any places is not having that much of plants, so we should plan for planting more and more number of trees there, so that the environment is reback to the original places in the environments to live and conservations. Like we should conserve, we should always think about the conserving the nature's resources. Like we all know that there are some resources which is not going to be present for a long time. Like there are some non-renewable resources are like fossil fuels and some things. So we should think about the conserving that type of resources, not using very much in large scale. So we should always think like we should always focus on the conservation of the resources, and we should not if something is in good ways, then we should not think to make it very bad. Like if the resources like the river is good, the water of the river is good, then we should not think it. We should not do any type of actions which makes the rivers bad or the water of the rivers bad, because maybe like if any organisms is living in the waters, so that will suffer because of our actions. So we should always think about the conservation of the natures. And the next is pollution prevention. Of course, the pollution is playing a greater role to make our environments bad. Like there are different type of pollutions like air pollution, water pollution, sound pollutions. So we should also think to control the pollutions which is happening in the environments every time and every day. Like for air pollutions, we are like releasing different type of gases in the environments, which is making the air bad. So we should prevent that type of pollutions which is happening in the environments. Not only one of the pollutions, like I told you, air pollutions. There are a lot of pollutions is happening. So we should also plan some things like which is not which will not pollute the environments. So these are the aspects we discussed here about how, and we can say, and we discussed also that how to implement our actions to achieve this United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And third question is how we can implement the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations through environmental educations. Okay. So here are different type of goals like goals 2, goal 6, 13 and 15. And the question is how we can implement these goals through the environmental educations, like how we can give that educations to the peoples about the environments so that it can help to achieve these type of goals. The first goal is the zero hunger. So zero hunger is like this goal says that there should not be any persons who is going to be sleeping without foods. So how we can achieve these goals? Like there are different ways of achieving these goals also. We should, yes, I will show that like this. So here you can see here that there is zero hunger challenge. So we can see how there are different ways here written that which if we follow these rules, then we can achieve the zero hunger the goals of the SDGs. So some of the steps are like organic farmings. Like if we do the organic farmings, then we can say that it will be easily available the good products to the peoples. So and we can also teach peoples and our farmers to do the organic farmings, which will produce more and more number of foods and which is better for the our peoples. So This is the one steps, and second step is like adapt all food systems. Yes, so we should think and we should teach peoples, and we should teach students, not only students but all type of persons in living organisms, and we should tell them that to adopt all type of food systems, like not only depending on the, if some person is a non-vegetarian or vegetarian, so we should tell them that you should try to adopt like you should try to eat all type of foods available you like in the environments. And the next thing is double small scale producers. Yes, the producers means like the farmers. We can tell we can motivate the farmers to produce more and more foods, and we should give the we should give some of the benefits to the farmers, so that they will motivate and they will produce more and more number of foods. And the next is like access cheap and adequate food. Yes, we should also think like to produce such type of foods, and if we produce large number of foods, and it should be like cheaper. Some of the food should be cheaper, so that the persons who is who is not that much of rich, so they can afford that food to buy and to eat it. So, and this can only be achieved if we have the productions in large scales, and the grains we are producing is not getting affected. Getting harmed by some of the natural resources. So we should take care of this, and this can be achieved by the giving educations to the farmers, to peoples, and to students, and this can also be achieved by sharing the knowledge to the our to the younger peoples, to our colleagues. Some things like if you know how if we will know that if we are wasting any foods, like if you have access of the foods and you are wasting it, but you are not thinking about before it wasting any foods. But if you will know that if I can share that foods with the hunger peoples, then only you will realize, okay, because if you don't have any idea that what is happening in the world, like the food which what you can afford, but that type of foods cannot be afforded by any other, like who is not that much of rich. So we should also have some knowledge about that. So, and achieving this knowledge can only be done by giving the educations to the peoples, not only thinking about only students. This education should only be given to the to only the students, because this information should be given to all category of peoples, like the housewives, any organizations, peoples, the one who is doing jobs, and even to the old peoples also. Because if anyone in the family knows this importance of the food grains they have, then they will definitely take actions. Like if anyone in the home is not following the rules, and if anyone is wasting the foods, then the one who knows in the family, they will definitely tell them to not waste our foods. So in this way we can achieve the goal 2 of SDGs, which is the zero hungers. And the next goal is clean water and sanitation. Yes. So this is like the goal 6 says that this is the goal 6, and this is like telling how we can make the water clean and good sanitations. Like this can be achieved. This can be achieved by giving educations to the peoples, like to live in the hygiene environments, like washing their hands regularly and using the cleaning the toilets before using it, and this education should be given to all the peoples. Like if and we should mainly focus on the children's. Like this knowledge should be given to everyone from the childhood, and then only we can even they will also take care of themselves, and this will definitely help to achieve the goals of the clean water and sanitation. And the clean water, yes. The next is we should also know about the more way to reuse water. So there are nowadays there are different countries who is having less amount of waters to reuse. If any country or any person is having good amount of and good access of waters, so they should think about that how we can use that waters if we are wasting that waters, so if we should think before wasting it, like what is this water can be reused by any other means. Like if and the other way thing is like we can also think to store some rainwater harvesting is also there, and another way to reuse water is like we can make some pot or wells in our houses, which is in some places where we are not using it, and this can also help to increase the water levels in the environments. And another thing is like we can make some permeable pavements in the places where the shade is not available. If there will be rainwater, if there will be rain in some places, that permeable pavements will help the water to go inside the waters, go inside the soils, and will definitely increase the water level of the places, and this will also decrease the runoff in the environments. So these are the ways to achieve the goals of the clean water and sanitations. And sanitations also says that whatever there are some places in the remote areas or rural areas in some countries, still there are no toilets and bathrooms, good bathrooms and toilets are available for them to access, and they are going outside, so they are doing toilets and bathrooms outside in the field. So we should think and we should share them the knowledge of using the toilets, proper toilets proper toilets for them, because if they will they will do toilets and bathrooms in the open areas, and the bacteria can go on in that places, and that bacteria can spread many type of disease in the environment. So we should give them the knowledge and the educations to the remote areas people also, how to use the toilets and what are the benefits of using the toilets, because if they will know, if they will have knowledge, then only they will try to make some toilets and bathrooms. And the other thing is like there should if someone is not that much of capable of affording that type of toilets and bathrooms, then government should also think like to provide some type of bathroom and toilets in some areas. Like nowadays there are some movable toilets and bathrooms is there, so they can government can provide one bathrooms to some group of people, like some societies or some in some areas, and it can be used by everyone, so that this will be like benefits for the one who cannot afford a good proper place to the bathrooms, and this is the way these are all the ways we can achieve the goals of the goal 6, which is the clean water and sanitation of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And the next is the climate access. So these goals says that how we can what actions we can do to make the climate good. So these nowadays it's already too late. Like the climate is already so much disturbed by all of our actions. Like whatever we are doing right now is impacting the climate very much, and this is already too late. So we should start thinking of doing to do some actions which can restore our climates. So the next is the third goals of the SDGs, which says the climate action. So taking urgent actions to tackle climate change and its impacts. So taking urgent actions. So it says that we have to take any action of the actions which is very urgent. It should be very urgent to take to restore our climates. Some of the actions like using of stop using the usage of fossil fuels, but it cannot be achieved in only one day. So it can be done slowly and slowly. Like if any countries is only depending on the fossil fuels for their cars and for their vehicles, then they should try to use the conventional ways of using producing such type of vehicles which is running on the green energies, like electricities or some natural gases. So next is the emissions must fall starting now. Yes, emissions must fall starting now means we should reduce the emissions of some of the gases, some of the wastage from the industries, in solid liquid wastage, like so it should be starting now. It should be reduced. Like if any countries or any industries or anything is emitting any of the harmful things in the environment, then from now onwards we should think to reduce it. There will be we should not delay it more and more, because as I told you, it's already too much late. So from now onwards we should also think about the stopping of emissions of any of the gases, any of the materials in the environments. And the next is next is emissions from the energy sectors. The emission from energy sectors means like there are a lot of sectors which is like energy sectors, like there are some way of producing of electricities, and so still there are some countries or some places the electricity is produced by some of the fossil fuels, and we should we already have many methods of producing electricities, like wind powers, sun power, solar powers. So we should focus on that ways of producing the energy. not only we should not think of producing energy by affecting the environments. Suppose if any country is not having any technology or any financial support, that much of finance to set up that type of machines or set up that type of places to produce the conventional way of producing electricity, then some countries should help them. Like if any country is good enough, they have good technology of developing the electricity, then he should share that technology to that type of countries who is not having that technology in their places, and in return of that they can ask for some of the money from that country, and that will definitely we should motivate, like if they also not have that much of financial support, then you can ask them to repay it some of the late times also, because if we will not do it by together, then we cannot achieve it. We should think of reducing producing any harmful effects on the climate, and we should yes sir. This can also be achieved by giving educations to the younger peoples and all the sectors of the peoples, it is not only the industry area or some industries who is affecting on the climate. It is everyone's, for everyone's actions the climate is changing. So we should also share this knowledge to the students and to the workers in the companies, factories, the household housewives and some of the old people also, how your actions is affecting to the climates. Like if for the students the uses of motorbikes by themselves is also affecting the climate. So we can say them that you should not use your own motorbikes for coming to schools or some other places. They can use the public transport systems for their convenience. In this way only we can if they will know it, then they will definitely try to do some things which is better for the environments and climates. And if they don't know it, if they are riding the motorcycles, if they will not know that what will be the effects of riding by motorbikes by them, then they will not even think about it. So making them aware is a first step to achieve the goals of the environments SDGs, and this way we can achieve the goal of the climate actions, which is the 13 goals of SDGs. And the last one is life on land. Life on land means on land there are different organisms is living. Human beings is the first ones. The next is like animals. Not only animals, there are different type of small animals is also there, which is living inside the sand or something. So we should be we should not only think about ourselves, our lives. We should think about all the persons who is living in these lands. So this, as we all know that only human beings can understand the education. They have the access of the educations, and they can know it. So we can only teach and we can only give the educations to the human beings, and that actions the actions of the human beings will give the lives to the animals in this planet and in this land. So we can teach to the students and to give the educations to the peoples that how their actions is affecting the persons or the organisms who is living on this land. Like some of the actions we can take, like we can do the forest. We can think about if there are some forests, we should not cut the trees in that forest, because there are all different type of organisms living in that forest, like birds, animals. So if we will cut the forest, then we are definitely, harming their environments and harming their habitat places. So we should think of not affecting the forest. And the second thing is desertifications. Yes. Nowadays there are different areas are going to is going to be happening in it is going desert after some time. So we should think of like not increase the number of desert places, increase the areas of the desert places. And the next is the final one is the biodiversities. So biodiversities means like we should think of diversities in the lands. Like we should think about different all the organisms which are living in this environments, even from the smallest to the biggest one. So if we are producing some of the solid waste giving of some of the solid waste on the lands, then if that waste is eaten by some of the animals, then maybe that animals will have to suffer from that waste. So we should give educations to the peoples how what should be thrown out as a wastage in the environment, and what should not be thrown out on the wastage. And some of the things we can categorize the waste type of waste products, which some of the products are reusables and some of the products are non-reusables. So we should put some of the dustbins, this one can be in these dustbins. The products should be kept reusable, and another one is which cannot be reused. So and that type of non-reusable wastage should be taken care, special taken care before leaving it on the lands or something. Like for examples, plastics, we know that it is non-biodegradable, but we just throw some of the plastics on the lands, and if that plastics go inside the land soil layers, then that plastics will not biodegradable, and it will live on that soil for a long time. It will not be gone on that place. But if any animals or any things eat that soil, that plastics, then it will affect it will harm themselves, that animals. So because they don't know whether that products or things are can be biodegradable or not, they will eat it and they will have to suffer it. So we have to think about it before for everyone's, for not only people's, not only families, but also the animals who is living in together. Because if they will not be here, then we will also be not here. Because we all know that we are a cycles of we are on the cycle. So if some of the thing is not available in our environments, then ultimately we have to suffer. The human beings also will have to suffer. So that's all we have discussed. We have discussed these different aspects and the 3 questions.